You may have heard the cliche, it never gets easier, the weights just get heavier. And I had this exact conversation with 2 different clients just this week. So let's unpack what we mean by that, because you probably should be aware of it, because it ended up being a bit of an obstacle, a barrier, a point of frustration for both of these individuals. Welcome back to, is it treadmill talks? Talks on treadmill? I don't know at this stage. I got them a treadmill set up on an incline. My heart rate's just entered zone 2, and I've got some very, very sparse basic notes to go through today. Now, this topic is important because it can be difficult to wrap your head around the idea that you're sometimes going to feel like you're not getting any better. Most things that you do for an extended period of time, you will see natural progressions in. I would hope that the tasks that you perform at work now are easier or more simple than the exact same tasks that you were doing 1 year, 2 years, 5 years ago. Because you've done them more frequently, you're better at them, you're more confident, you've leveled up your skills, all that stuff. With your hobbies, the same thing. If you play video games, if you paint little war dollies, whatever you do, you probably have noticed natural progressions. What was once very challenging is now much, much easier. And this framing can slip us up a little bit when it comes to our training, because you can actually feel the opposite sometimes. You can feel like you're getting worse because you're leaving the gym more tired, your muscles ache more, you're out of breath more. And what we need to do is we just need to reframe those expectations. The point of going to the gym, whether you're doing cardiovascular exercise, lifting weights, whatever it might be, is you're trying to create stress. You're trying to force your body to adapt, to grow muscle, to burn body fat, to get stronger, become more powerful, to build a bigger engine so that you can run further, all that sort of stuff. In order to do that, you have to basically be in the process of constantly increasing the amount of stress you're putting your body through, because otherwise it stops adapting. The first time you go to the gym, you can do very little, and over the next month or 2, see quite quick progress. You can do a few sets of curls and your arms might start to grow. The same amount of work a year later is no longer sufficient. Your muscles, your arm muscles, have adapted to that workload, that weight, and so you need to be constantly increasing the amount of work that you're putting those muscles through. The same applies for all forms of fitness. You need to be constantly pushing the envelope a little bit more. And so it never really gets easier. And in actual fact, it should be getting harder. And what I mean by that is you should be able to push yourself further the further along your fitness journey you are. So if you get on a rowing machine or an assault bike, the first couple of months you go to a gym, you will do some intervals and you'll find them challenging and you'll breathe hard. But in 5 years' time, you will probably actually feel worse after those intervals if you're giving it your best effort. And that's for 2 main reasons. Number 1, your ability to create a stressful stimulus has increased. You can actually put out more wattage. You can sprint faster. You can go harder. And so the actual demand upon your body is much, much greater physiologically. So you'll feel more tired. But second of all, you will hopefully have developed the skills, cognitive skills I suppose you might call them, to be comfortable pushing harder. When you first pick up some weights, when you do some cardio, you do some intervals, you will become uncomfortable very quickly. Like I'm doing right now, you might start sweating, your muscles start aching, your breathing gets a bit ragged, and so you will stop because it will be uncomfortable and you won't be confident at that level of discomfort. But as you continue to go to the gym, you will realize that that is fine. In fact, you will realize that the discomfort is not just fine, it's the entire goal. It's the entire point of being there, is to be uncomfortable in the right way. I'm not talking about like joint pain and panic attacks. I'm talking about being out of breath, sweating, muscles burning and on fire. That sort of stuff is usually a good indicator you're training hard. And so your comfort levels with being uncomfortable, with being in discomfort, will increase. And so you will push harder because you physically can and because you mentally can. And weirdly enough, you will leave interval sessions in a far worse state, 5-10 years into your fitness journey, hopefully, than when you started. And that's a tricky thing to wrap your head around because, like I said, in many aspects of your life, you will find things easier. You will find things more simple. You will obviously be getting better at them. But the difference is that you're not trying to necessarily create a stimulus for change doing those things. The goal of your hobbies or your video games is to have fun and to get better at them. The goal of training is to create a stimulus to change. Grow muscle, get stronger, get fitter, all that sort of stuff. So the goal itself isn't the training session necessarily. It's what comes about because of the training session. What you need to do to wrap your head around this is, I guess, twofold. First of all, actually track what you're doing. Because what usually happens is, and oftentimes when I first start working with someone, is that they actually forget how far they've come in terms of what they're doing. So they will be frustrated because they still feel tired when they're getting off the assault bike. And what they won't necessarily realize is that they are burning twice the amount of calories within 30 seconds compared to what they did the first time they walked in. They will be annoyed that their muscles still kill after a weight training session. And they might forget that 6 weeks earlier, they were just using an empty bar with 20 kilos. And now they've got 50, 60 kilos on the barbell. So you need to be tracking things. You don't have to track everything, but it is so worth just keeping an eye on your big lifts, on your tough intervals, and things like that. Because what you can do when you start having these doubts, when you start getting frustrated, is you can look back at this data and go, yeah, my muscles ache more, I'm more out of breath on a lever session, because I'm doing way more. I'm not just lifting an empty barbell for 10 reps, I'm lifting 50 kilos. I'm not just doing 5 calories in 30 seconds on the air bike, I'm doing 10 or 15. Like, no wonder I'm really tired leaving the gym. The second important thing to do is just make sure that you adjust that framing before you start, before you go into the gym, and if you have those doubts. The point of exercising is not necessarily to get better at exercising. There are exceptions. If you are training to run a marathon, you want to get better at running the marathon. But for the most part, we are training to get fitter, to build muscle, to get stronger, to improve our mobility, to improve body composition. We're not going to the gym to get better at going to the gym. So you need to be constantly finding little ways to create a little bit more stress, to create a bit more of a stimulus, to force your body to change. Because at the foundational level, your body doesn't want to change. Your body doesn't want to build muscle. It doesn't want to get stronger. That takes precious resources. You have to really force the issue. So you need to be going in with that attitude. It shouldn't get easier. The weights should just get heavier. The intervals should just go for longer. Your ability to produce whatever the output is should become greater as well. So if you are leaving the gym more tired, more fatigued, more exhausted, your lungs on fire, your muscles burning, that's probably a good sign, because that would tell me that you are able physically and mentally to push yourself harder. That's it. That's the video. It doesn't get easier, the weights just get heavier. And that's the way it should be. Don't worry if you feel like you're not getting better. Don't worry if you feel like things aren't getting easier. Unfortunately, that's the whole point. You just got to embrace it. If you've watched this far, let me know. Like, subscribe, comment. Catch you in the next video.